Season 2 has arrived, and with it, we have a new top 5 guns video. Ladies and gentlemen, what's good? Hope you're all having a fantastic day today. This season had some of the most exciting balance changes that we've seen in a while, with number 1, the most exciting, the nerf to the Ballista, but also nerfs to the CBR and the Creek 6. Shout out to COD Mobile for sponsoring the video. If you guys haven't already, you can download the game using the link in the description, but without any more talking, we're going to go ahead and get started. First off, we got to get things kicked off with some honorable mentions. This list really could be a top 10 because there are so many guns that are close to making it into the top 5 that aren't quite there yet. First honorable mention goes to a gun that has been incredibly consistent already and got a fat buff this season, a 30% reload speed buff on top of 20 milliseconds of extra ADS speed. The Man of War is an absolute laser beam that now has mobility that can match most other assault rifles and does have an advantage over guns like the DRH and the EM2, which require you to hit at least 2 upper body shots in order to 3-shot. The Man of War is going to 3-shot regardless of where you hit on the body and has an attachment that can stack 40% extra range. Because you have the buff reload speed, it also doesn't hurt to throw the 35 round magazine on there, so overall this is an incredible option for the long range. There's another gun I gotta throw in here because if I don't, I will upset a significant portion of the ranked community. The M13 is no question one of the easiest to use assault rifles in the game, and if you can consistently hit headshots, it does have decent potential. The biggest aspect of the M13 that makes it easy to use is that it has the fastest rate of fire of any assault rifle, especially as far as long range is concerned, meaning that it's much more forgiving whenever you miss shots, and because it has a lot of different magazine options, you can get up to 60 bullets without a whole lot of penalty. I prefer the 40 round double stack mag because it does give you not only extra range, but extra suppression as well, and obviously we got some of our other traditional attachments. No stock to give it some mobility, granulated for the accuracy, and ADS on top of accuracy with the tech laser as well. Coming up next in our honorable mentions, and yes, I am wearing a completely different outfit because we had to give the Maddox a try to try it out, and it most definitely fits here, maybe not in the top 5, but this gun has ridiculous potential as the newest assault rifle in COD Mobile. Obviously, one of the really interesting things is the Echo Mod barrel, which basically turns it into a similar type of weapon as the duplex magazine for the Odin. Obviously, the big upside for this is if you do manage to get a 2-tap with it, the time to kill is ridiculously absurd, but there are some pretty sizable downsides as well. Number 1, it slows down the rate of fire pretty significantly, which means that if you do miss a shot with the Echo Fire mod, it's going to be incredibly punishing. Number 2, as damage drops off, it's going to decrease the odds of you being able to 2-shot with it, and on top of that, the Echo mod vastly increases the recoil of the weapon, which is going to make it that much tougher to win long-range gunfights. With that being said, the gun is a very solid option even without the Echo mod because it has a solid time to kill, which is pretty similar to that of the Task Force Peacekeeper, and some decent attachment options that can give you better mobility with it. All that to be said, while the Maddox is probably not meta this season, it's definitely a solid option, and you should be giving it a try to figure it out what works best for you. One additional downside of the Maddox is that it doesn't have a whole lot of attachment options. This is the build that I was using because there is a decent chance you are going to hit a leg shot, so even though disable isn't necessarily the best option when it comes to assault rifles because you're so limited on attachments, it felt like a decent option for me. And last but certainly not least for honorable mentions, there's a gun that there was a lot of question last season. Is it meta? Is it not meta? And while I don't think it's quite top 5, it's definitely a fantastic alternative if you get bored of using the same guns over and over again. The KN-44 is a fantastic long-range assault rifle, and really the only thing holding it back is the fact that it has a slower rate of fire than both the Kilo and the Creek 6. With that being said, it's one of the better high-skill gap assault rifles in the game because it is so rewarding when you can land those upper body shots, especially if you can land a headshot. It's definitely a must-try for players that love to fight in the long range. With pretty solid bullet spread accuracy and easy to control recoil, you can stack as much range as you want on this thing and give yourself a couple extra bullets to work with that 38 round fast magazine. Coming in at number 5, it's a gun that's been kind of on the brink of being inside of our top 5. The easiest gun to use in COD Mobile, no question. Fat magazine, no recoil, and pretty solid time to kill. At least in North American server, this is one of the most commonly used guns in Legendary rank. Obviously, especially when it comes to hardpoint, it helps to be able to take multiple gunfights at one time. And with a recent buff to the Bison that happened a couple seasons ago, it does have potential to 3-shot to the upper body as well, which makes it that much stronger in the close range when you're trying to take down multiple enemies. It doesn't have a crazy fast rate of fire, but to be honest, if it did, it would be completely broken. And if you're a beginner in Call of Duty Mobile, this is definitely one you're going to want to try. I like to go for maximum accuracy with this one because it is basically an assault rifle in SMG form, or actually closer to an LMG with phenomenal mobility. Mono suppressor and extended light for range, no stock for mobility, and then stack as much BSA as you can with granulated and OWC tac laser. Coming in at number 4 is a gun that at this point I don't think is ever going to leave our top 5 guns. It's going to be the SKS, the king of the long range. This is actually a gun that pro players agreed to ban in this season of Mobile Mayhem across a bunch of different regions, and there's a reason for that. With by far the fastest rate of fire of any marksman or sniper, and the fact that you can one-shot anywhere on the map if you land a headshot, the gun is already incredibly punishing, and the fact that you can also two-tap from anywhere on the map if you aim high just makes it that much better. The main reason that it's at number 4 and not any higher is because this is a higher skill gap weapon, which I can't necessarily say to be true of most of the other weapons that come after this on this list. If you're looking for a nice alternative that plays a little bit more like a sniper, the XPR is a great option as well, which is also banned from competitive because it is so ridiculously strong, but make sure that you're running the stopping power. Recently, I have been using a little bit more of a passive build for the SKS. Obviously, taking a look at Lucason's build, it was very, very different from what mine was, and I felt like playing more for the accuracy has paid off big time just because this is so much meant for the long range. Obviously, adding disable in there gives you that extra little bit of accuracy on slowed down players as well, so overall, this is not going to be a great aggressive build, but absolutely dominant for holding lanes. Dropping down to number 3, but most definitely not out of the meta, the Krieg 6 did get a pretty sizable nerf this season, which mainly impacted its mobility, but its time to kill and its range are still very, very solid. While the range did get dropped down by a couple of meters, it's still very, very consistent, and mobility, as far as assault rifles are concerned, is still relatively solid even with a 50-round magazine. The one thing you do still have to take into account is the bullet speed, and that's one thing that can potentially hold it back because if you're playing on bad ping, it seems like bullet speed tends to affect guns a little bit more than it would on decent ping. I've been running the same build on the Krieg 6 for quite a while, and while it might not seem like you need recoil control with this, it definitely makes life a lot easier and still has pretty solid mobility. The Task Force barrel gives you that bullet speed, agency suppressor, silences it, and gives you a little bit of extra recoil control. And even though the large extended mag now has slightly more downside as mobility goes, it still doesn't feel bad by any means. Coming in at the number 2 spot, the gun that just won't seem to leave the meta. I think it's been in there for like a year and a half or something at this point. The Kilo assault rifle with the nerf to the Krieg 6 is now the most dominant long-range assault rifle in the game. While the Mythic is a fantastic option for the Kilo, it's definitely not by any means a must-have because the iron sights for the Kilo are not really all that bad. I considered throwing the KN-44 in here, but just because of the rate of fire, it's such a crucial factor for any weapon in Call of Duty Mobile, and the more forgiving the better. The Kilo does have a faster rate of fire than the Krieg 6 and the KN-44, which makes it a lot more consistent over range, especially when you're taking into account missed shots. On top of that, the gun's pretty easy to use. All you got to do is pull down and you're going to be able to land a pretty significant number of shots. It does require a more specific playstyle, much more similar to the SKS, but the SKS is a little bit more difficult to master, and because the Kilo can be used by such a broad spectrum of players, in my opinion, it is now the number 2 gun in the game. I do prefer to take a more passive playstyle with the Kilo, and that's the reason that I like running the Ranger foregrip, which is actually something I learned from looking at Tectonic's build from what he used in the World Championships. And while I don't necessarily copy every single attachment, this is a very similar build in that it does maximize range pretty significantly, while at the same time giving you a little bit of mobility. And at number 1, I wish that this wasn't the case. It's been the meta for so freaking long, but unfortunately, the nerfs were not nearly enough to have a big impact on this. It's gonna be the CBR once again. Because the Krieg 6 nerfs were so much more significant than those of the CBR, and the fact that, as it is, the base version of the CBR has much better iron sights than the Krieg 6, there's absolutely no question the CBR is the number 1 gun for free-to-play players. And I would make the argument that even with the Mythic Krieg 6, the CBR still seems to be a better option, and I'm definitely hoping for a better nerf in the coming seasons, because this gun has been meta for so freaking long. It's been meta for a long time, so I don't think I need to explain to you guys why this is the number 1 gun, but number 1, incredible stray speed. Number 2, ridiculous range. Number 3, a 50-round magazine. Number 4, versatility that you're not going to find on any other weapon in the game. The CBR has been a top choice for just about every legendary ranked lobby that I've been in for a while, and I'm guessing for this season, it will continue to be the same. Even though the light stock did end up getting a nerf for the CBR in the recent update, it's definitely definitely still a solid option at 15% strafe speed. Alternatively, if you do want to play a little bit more passive, the steady stock is definitely very, very solid because it gives you that horizontal recoil and bullet spread accuracy at the same time. Overall, for my CBR build, it stays pretty much the same, with the tactical suppressor being my favorite option because monolithic suppressor has less upside on the CBR than it does have for other guns. The rest of it, you go for BSA and range, and you're all set to go. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Did I get anything wrong? Did I miss out on any? Drop it in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one.